Section 1. The Surprise Attack, September 30th, 1877. Bear Paw Mountains, Montana Territory. A bitter, stinging wind cuts across the high, cold plain. The air is sharp, carrying the first scent of a hard winter. Below, in a shallow, grassy depression near Snake Creek, the 700 surviving Nez Perce are camped. They are exhausted, their bodies worn thin by a 1,170-mile ordeal. Their remaining ponies, the remnants of a herd once 1,000 strong, graze weakly on the cured grass. They are just 40 miles, one hard day's ride, from the Medicine Line, the Canadian border. For 1,170 miles they have fled. For 4 months they have outmaneuvered, outwitted, and flatly outfought every soldier the United States government has thrown at them. They crossed the Bitterroots, fought at the Big Hole, and slipped past General O.O. Howard's army so many times he was becoming a grim joke in the press. Now, they believe they are finally safe. Howard is far behind. The border is in sight. They are resting, gathering strength for the final push into Sitting Bull's refuge in the grandmother's land. They are tragically, devastatingly wrong. A scout's warning cry slices through the wind. A dark blue line has appeared on the southern ridge, stark against the graying sky. It's not General Howard's tired, footsore infantry. This is a fresh column, moving fast, pennants snapping. It is Colonel Nelson A. Miles, leading a composite command from Fort Keogh. He has force-marched his men 260 miles in 12 days, driven by telegraph reports and a burning ambition to succeed where Howard and others had failed. He has brought with him elements of his own 5th Infantry, mounted on captured ponies, companies of the 2nd Cavalry, and, most terrifyingly, 6 companies of the 7th Cavalry. The regiment shattered 1 year earlier at the Little Bighorn, now rebuilt and hungry for a victory. The bugle call for charge splits the frozen air. The trap is sprung. The first wave, 350 blue-coated troopers, slams down the slope. Their target is the camp, the women, the children, to create chaos. But the Nez Perce are not warriors for nothing. They are veterans of a dozen sharp, desperate fights. Chief Joseph Hinmatuya is in the teepee with his young daughter. He is the statesman, the provider. He is not the war chief. He snatches the child and runs for the shelter of the creek bed. The war chiefs, his brother Olocott, the fierce Tuhulhulzote, the strategist Looking Glass, are already moving. Warriors grab their Winchester 73 repeating rifles and melt into the landscape. The cavalry charge, led by Captain Owen Hale, hits nothing. The Nez Perce, masters of terrain, have vanished. They fire from cut banks, from behind rocks, from shallow depressions. The repeating rifles send a hail of 44 caliber lead into the charging column. The attack stalls. Horses and men go down. Captain Hale is hit, killed instantly. Captain Miles Moylan, another Custer veteran, is wounded. The 7th Cavalry's charge is broken, the troopers flinging themselves from their horses to seek cover. But Miles is a shrewd, ruthless commander. This frontal assault was only part of his plan. As the 7th Cavalry was pinned, he sent Captain George Tyler's 2nd Cavalry sweeping wide to the west. Their target was not the people. It was the ponies. The Nez Perce hear it, a thundering of hooves away from the camp. The lifeblood of their people, their mobility, their only hope of reaching the border. Soldiers are rounding up the entire herd, hundreds of animals, and driving them away. In that moment, the fight changes. The Nez Perce warriors, seeing their horses stolen, make a desperate countercharge on foot. They run into the open plain to save their escape, but it's too late. The cavalry detachment is too strong. Joseph, from the creek bed, sees it all. They are no longer a mobile band. They are infantry, trapped on a frozen plain. They are no longer refugees. They are a besieged fortress. As the frontal assault repulses, Miles dismounts his entire command. The steady, single-shot crack of the troopers' 45-70 Springfield carbines answers the rapid boom of the Winchesters. The battle settles. The Nez Perce, with no hope of running, begin to dig. With skinning knives, with camas hooks, with their bare, freezing hands, They tear at the frozen earth of the depression. They are digging for their lives. As the sun sets on the first day, the wind shifts. It comes hard from the north, from the border they will never reach. And with it, the first sharp, stinging flakes of snow begin to fall. Section 2. The Frozen Siege, October 1st, 1877. The Snake Creek Depression. The blizzard did not stop. It intensified, burying the landscape in a suffocating white. The wind howled, a physical presence that stole the breath and drove the snow into drifts, covering the dead from the first day's charge. For the Nez Perce, the world has shrunk to a few hundred square yards of frozen, shell-pocked earth. They call this place Tsinimpuinski, the place of the manure fires. There is no wood. To stay alive, to warm their freezing children, they are forced to huddle over smoldering fires built from dried buffalo dung, the acrid smoke stinging their eyes in the cramped earthen pits. The digging is frantic, relentless. It is not just the warriors, it is the women, the old men. Using only butcher knives, Kama's root diggers, and their raw, bleeding hands, they claw at the banks of the creek. They carve out a labyrinth of shelters, trenches, and rifle pits, connecting them in a desperate, interlocking defense. These are not just fighting positions, they are graves in waiting. Into these holes they move the wounded, the elders, and the children, packing them together for warmth. Chief Joseph moves among them. His blanket is caked with ice. He is not fighting. He is trying to keep his people alive. He tends to his daughter, whose cries are lost in the wind. He sees the cost. The wounded from yesterday's fight are dying, not just from their .45 caliber wounds, but from the cold. A small child freezes to death in its mother's arms. Outside this perimeter, Colonel Miles is not idle. He has no intention of ordering another suicidal charge against the Nez Perce rifles. He is a modern, calculating officer. This is a siege. His men, the 5th Infantry and the dismounted 7th Cavalry, are digging their own lines, mirror images of the Nez Perce pits. A circle, tightening by the hour. The sharpshooting begins in earnest. It is a deadly, personal war. Any trooper who stands up, any soldier who moves carelessly, is hit. The Nez Perce, firing their Winchesters from nearly invisible gopher holes, are masters of this fight. But Miles has an answer. On the ridge, his men wrestle a 12-pounder Napoleon cannon and a newer, deadlier weapon, a breech-loading 1.65-inch Hotchkiss gun, into position. The first artillery shell is a ranging shot, screaming over the camp. The second is short. The third finds the range. Whump crack! The shell explodes inside the depression. It doesn't just kill, it excavates. It tears into the shallow pits, throwing frozen earth, shrapnel, and human beings into the air. The Nez Perce have faced rifle fire, cavalry, and infantry. They have never faced this. The constant, methodical shelling is designed to break their will. The war chiefs are still defiant. They believe they can hold out. They know General Howard is somewhere to the south, but they also know that Sitting Bull is just 40 miles to the north. Small groups of warriors talk of a breakout, of slipping through the lines to get help. On the second day of the siege, October 2nd, the leadership that had carried them 1,170 miles begins to die. Tuhulhul Zote, the brilliant, stubborn old spiritual leader and warrior who had argued so fiercely for their freedom, is in his rifle pit. He raises his head just for a moment to scan the army lines. A sharpshooter's .45-70 round, fired from hundreds of yards away, strikes him in the head, killing him instantly. The blow is devastating. Then it gets worse. Olocott, Joseph's brother, the young, powerful war chief, the man who had led the brilliant rearguard actions, the flanking maneuvers, the man who was the true heart of their resistance. He is rallying the warriors, moving from pit to pit, when another sharpshooter's bullet finds him. He falls. The military mind of the Nez Perce is gone. Joseph feels the loss like a physical amputation. His brother is dead. Tuhulhulzot is dead. Looking Glass, the third great war chief, is now the only one left. But the morale is shattering. The wailing of the women for the dead chiefs now mixes with the wailing of the children for food. They are eating the flesh of their dead ponies, raw, because the fires are too small and draw too much sniper fire. Miles's trap is no longer just a ring of soldiers. It is a ring of starvation, of artillery, and of crippling cold. Section 3. The Last of the Chiefs, October 3rd, 1877. The Snake Creek Depression. Dawn arrives not as light, but as a marginal lessening of the dark. The blizzard has not broken. It shrieks over the lip of the ravine, dumping snow and ice into the pits, covering the living and the dead in the same white shroud. The temperature is hovering near zero. Inside the holes, the air is thick with the smell of blood, unwashed bodies, and the foul smoke of the manure fires. The silence of the night, a silence broken only by the wind and the sporadic wail of a grieving woman, is shattered by the sharp whomp of the Napoleon cannon on the ridge. The siege resumes. Chief Joseph moves through the labyrinth. He is no longer just the camp chief. With Olcott and Tuhulhuldzota gone, the warriors look to him, their eyes hollowed by exhaustion and hunger. He sees his people. The children's hands and feet are black with frostbite. The wounded, their blood freezing almost as it leaves their bodies, are packed together, their groans a constant low rhythm beneath the gunfire. The snipers have found their range. The army is using 45-70 Springfield rifles, slow to load, but incredibly accurate at long range. The Nez Perce Winchesters, so devastating in a close-quarters running fight, lack the same reach. To even peek above the frozen earth is suicide. A warrior, desperate for water, makes a low crawl towards the creek bed. The crack of a single rifle echoes, and he stills, a dark stain spreading on his blanket. The army sharpshooters are patient. They are hunting. Hope is a dwindling ember, but it is not yet extinguished. Looking Glass, the last of the great war chiefs, is alive. He is the strategist, the man who had always argued for the path to Canada. He maintains that help will come. Sitting Bull is only 40 miles away. Surely the Lakota will hear the cannon. Surely they will ride south to help the people who had given them refuge years before. He argues for one more day. Hold the lines. Wait for Sitting Bull. But on the fourth day, October 4th, the military leadership of the Nez Perce is finally completely destroyed. Looking Glass is in his rifle pit, scanning the army's perimeter. He is convinced there is a weakness in the line, a place where a desperate, concerted charge might break through. He raises his head slightly, turning to a warrior beside him to point. A bullet, fired from an unseen rifleman on the ridge, crosses the snowy expanse. It strikes Looking Glass in the left side of his forehead. He collapses, falling backward into the pit. He is killed instantly. The news passes from hole to hole, not as a shout, but as a stunned, horrified whisper. Looking Glass is dead. It is the final crushing blow. The great triumvirate of resistance, Olcott the fighter, Tuhulhuldzota the spirit, Looking Glass the strategist, is gone. The man who remains is Joseph, the provider, the guardian, the man who had argued for peace from the very beginning, the man whose primary duty was not to win a war, but to protect the Nimiapuu, the people. As this new, terrible weight settles on him, the battle changes again. On the southern ridge, through the driving snow, a new column appears. These are not Miles's fresh, fur-coated troops. These are men on skeletal horses, their blue uniforms in tatters. They are the pursuers, the ghosts. It is the man who started this 170 miles ago, General Oliver Otis Howard. The praying general, the man they had humiliated and outrun across Idaho and Montana, has finally caught them. His arrival is strategically irrelevant. Miles has the siege well in hand, but it is psychologically devastating. It means the world is closed. There is no one left to run from. The entire U.S. Army is here, enclosing them. Colonel Miles sees Howard's arrival and knows his time is short. He wants this victory for himself. He must force the surrender now, before Howard, his superior officer, can assume command. The trap is total. The leadership is dead. The children are freezing. The last of the raw ponies has been eaten. Joseph looks at his daughter. He looks at the survivors, huddled in their frozen graves. He knows the fighting is over. Section 4. The Council of the Freezing October 5th, 1877. The Snake Creek Depression. Day 6 of the siege. The blizzard has passed, but the cold remains, a solid, physical thing. The world is a stark, blinding white, the sky a sheet of iron grey. The silence is profound. The shelling has stopped. The constant crack of the sharpshooters' rifles has faded. Both sides are frozen, exhausted, and waiting. Inside the Nez Perce pits, the air is thick with the stench of death and gangrene. The remaining 400 survivors are no longer a fighting force. They are a collection of starving families. The last of the horseflesh is gone. The children are silent, too weak to cry, their small bodies stiffening with frostbite under their thin blankets. A white flag appears on the army's line. Colonel Miles is impatient. General Howard's arrival means his exclusive command is threatened. He wants this finished. He sends 2 Nez Perce interpreters, men who had been captured earlier in the campaign, to walk across the frozen no-man's land. They enter the ravine. They see the horror, the dead piled in the snow, the wounded huddled in the bloody, frozen earth. They find what is left of the leadership. Joseph stands in the central pit, his blanket riddled with bullet holes. He is surrounded by the few remaining men who can still fight. With the war chiefs dead, the council falls to him and to Whitebird. Whitebird, the old implacable chief, will not yield. His eyes are burning. He speaks of Sitting Bull. He speaks of freedom. He argues for a final desperate breakout, a run for the border in the dark, every man for himself. He would rather die on the Canadian line than in a reservation stockade. The other warriors are torn. To surrender is to give up everything their ancestors had lived for. To fight is to condemn every woman and child to death. The interpreters deliver Miles's message. Surrender, and you will be treated honorably. You will be fed, your wounded cared for, and you will be returned to your own country in the spring. To Joseph, this means Idaho, the Wallowa Valley. Home. He looks away from Whitebird. He looks into the shelters. He sees a mother trying to warm the feet of her dead child. He sees old men, their faces grey, their rifles held by hands too frozen to pull a trigger. And he sees his own young daughter shivering, her eyes wide with terror and hunger. This is the moment. The 1,070-mile run is no longer about victory. It is about survival. The warriors, the providers, the old, the young, they are all his people. Whitebird can speak of a warrior's death, but Joseph must speak for the children. He must be their father. His authority, the authority he had never sought as a warrior, settles upon him. He is the one who must answer. He is the one who must stop the killing. He knows Whitebird will not surrender. He will try for the border tonight, and Joseph will not stop him. But for the rest, for the hundreds who cannot run, who cannot fight, who can only die, the decision is made. He turns to the interpreters. His face is a mask of grief. He tells them to wait. He has an answer for General Howard and Colonel Miles. He begins to speak, not to the interpreters, but to his dead brother, to his dead chiefs, to his people. An aide to General Howard, Lieutenant Charles Erskine Scott Wood, prepares to write, his pencil moving quickly over the paper, scrambling to capture the words as the interpreter relays them. The speech is not a negotiation. It is a eulogy. Section 5. I will fight no more forever. October 5th, 1877. 4 p.m. The Bear Paw battlefield. The sun is low, a weak, cold disk in the grey sky. The frozen plain between the two armies is silent. 2 mounted figures appear on the rim of the Nez Perce ravine. They are followed by 3 men on foot. They begin the slow ride toward the army lines. At their head rides Chief Joseph. He is not in war regalia. He is wrapped in a grey woolen blanket, his face gaunt, his hands raw from the cold. His scalp lock is tied with simple otter fur. He rides a borrowed pony, its ribs showing, its head low. He has no weapon, save for the rifle laid across his arms. Waiting for him, mounted, are General O. Howard, Colonel Nelson Miles, and their staff. They are bundled in buffalo robes and officers' greatcoats. They sit their horses, impassive, the victors. Joseph rides directly to General Howard. He dismounts. The snow crunches under his worn moccasins. He is the embodiment of a defeated nation. His blanket is torn by bullets, his face a map of profound, bottomless grief. He stops before the general. The interpreter, Ad Chapman, moves to his side. Lieutenant C.E.S. Wood holds his notebook, ready. Joseph does not offer his rifle, not yet. First he must speak. He looks at Howard, the man he had fled for 1,170 miles. He begins, his voice low, not a speech for the ages, but a simple statement of fact. Chapman translates, his own voice heavy, as Wood's pencil flies. "Tell General Howard I know his heart," Joseph says. "What he told me before, I have it in my heart. I am tired of fighting." He pauses. The words hang in the freezing air. He looks past the soldiers, past the cannon, back toward the ravine where his people are dying. "Our chiefs are killed. Looking Glass is dead. Tuhulhulzot is dead. The old men are all dead. It is the young men who say yes and no. He who led on the young men is dead." He speaks his brother's name. "Ollicott is dead. It is cold, and we have no blankets. The little children are freezing to death. My people, some of them, have run away to the hills, and have no blankets, no food. No one knows where they are, perhaps freezing to death." His gaze drops, as if searching for something in the snow. "I want to have time to look for my children and see how many of them I can find. Maybe I shall find them among the dead." He has made his decision. He has spoken for the children. Now he raises his head and speaks directly to the dead chiefs, to his ancestors, to the officers in front of him. "Hear me, my chiefs. I am tired. My heart is sick and sad." He straightens his back, the last motion of a free chief. "From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever." The speech is over. The eulogy is complete. Joseph turns his eyes from Howard. He holds out his Winchester .73 repeating rifle, grasping it by the barrel. He extends it, butt first, in the universal sign of surrender. He offers it to General Howard. Howard, the praying general, the man who had been outfought and outwitted across 4 states, holds up his hand. He refuses to take it. He nods, gesturing to the man who had actually won the battle. Chief Joseph turns. He extends the rifle to Colonel Nelson A. Miles. Miles, his face impassive, reaches out and takes the weapon. The act is done. The Nez Perce War is over. That night, under the cover of the bitter, starless dark, the old Chief Whitebird, unconquered, slips through the army's lines. With him go more than 100 warriors and civilians. They do not surrender. They crawl, walk, and run the last 40 miles. They cross the medicine line. They reach Canada and freedom. But for Joseph and the 430 survivors who lay down their arms, there is no freedom. The promise of returning to Idaho will be broken. Their 170-mile fight for home ends with a railroad journey into exile, to a malarial flatland in Indian Territory, a place they will call Ikishpa, the hot place. The chiefs are dead. The children are safe. And Hinma Tuyalat Kekt Chief Joseph has fought no more, forever.